So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Smith, aka Phil the Filipino. And joining me as always is your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And folks, we are here with the June edition of the Game Room, where it happens. And Eric, you know, every once in a while, you come across a title and you're like, hey, maybe we should check this out. See how it goes. It is a type of game that you're not necessarily interested in or very good at, to be 100% honest with you. And listen, your algorithm is your algorithm. I had very briefly seen some clips about this, but you know, there is a phrase that I tend to stay away from in the gaming genre, and that is Souls-like. But in the interest of trying new things and bringing you the best possible content that we can, you know, we're always game to try something new. And Eric, that is what we did this month with Another Crab's Treasure, which is a new game from the developer Aggro Crab. I believe they had one previous outing before this, and now they have jumped into the Souls-like genre with Another Crab's Treasure. And, you know, honestly, we're covering this game for good reason. It's gotten a lot of really positive feedback, and whether or not this was for us remains to be seen, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this game has, I think for good reason, has, what's the word I'm looking for, created some waves. How about that? See what I did there? In the gaming community here with their take at the Souls-like genre.
Yeah, and you know, if you're new to the podcast, you really can't tell what Phil does before he completely shits on a game. So that's what just happened there, if you were wondering. I personally am excited to talk about this because I have been interested in getting into Souls games. We've talked about it a lot, and I told Phil, hey, why don't we add this to our gaming rotation? Let's say we played it, because Phil, we're going to talk about maybe our history with Souls-like game. It's minimal to none, is what I remember for the both of us. But this game specifically is also funny for us to be covering because Elden Ring is so popular, and the DLC for that game is coming out in literal days from recording this. So yeah, could we have played Elden Ring finally and given that a shot? It's definitely trending, yes. But no, we went with a little indie darling in Another Crab's Treasure, and I'm excited to have that conversation. I think we made the right choice, difficulty-wise, but that remains to be seen.
You know, Elden Ring is seeing new popularity because of Kai Cenat on Twitch playing through the game, and we said, you know, let's check out this little tiny crab that is in the Souls-like genre. I didn't even think about that. That is a very good point. So here we are, and for those of you that maybe met us for the first time this weekend at Bold Matsuri, and you'd like to hear me talk a little bit more positively about a game, we have a whole library of the Game Room where it happens. And you know what? You can fairly criticize me and tell me to get good. All of that is warranted. That's totally fine. But if you want to know where you can find the rest of our content, including a lot more episodes of the Game Room where it happens, stick around. We'll let you know where you can find all of that at the very end. If you're listening to this post this weekend, make sure you come see us at Bold Matsuri here, Jacksonville, Florida, Prime Osborne Convention Center, June 22nd, June 23rd. But Eric, let's jump into Another Crab's Treasure. It is I'll give you the Steam summary of the game. In a vibrant undersea kingdom on the verge of collapse, a hermit crab embarks on a treasure hunt to buy back his repossessed shell, the second game from Aggro Crab. And, you know, like I said, I had kind of very briefly seen clips of this here and there on Instagram, sprinkled into my algorithm. But Eric, what was it about you? Because you're the one who recommended this game. I'm going to throw it to you first. What was it about this? You know, like you said, there's so many choices in the Souls-like genre we could have started at. What was it about this one that made you think, let's start here in terms of the Game Room episodes when it comes to Souls-like gaming.
Well, I mean, let's just, talk about the beginning of the game. I don't think it's too spoilery to bring this up. The game starts, you're just a little hermit crab trying to live your life, and a loan shark comes out of nowhere and steals your shell, and you have to get it back. That's basically the game, at least the first part of it. So why not? But no, really, Phil, I saw clips of a lot of the boss fights, and they're very obviously Souls-like. That's the whole, that's really what is going to get you into this game. And it's kind of proposed as a easy way to get into Souls game. That's kind of the way, I don't know that advertises the word to say, but that's the way I kind of took what I was, looking at. And I do think there is some credence to that, at least in my limited knowledge. I'd be very curious to hear what Andrew and the guys over at Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers say. They just recently had a Souls month, so content-wise, if that's your jam, you should be checking them out absolutely as well. We'll make sure to likely link their stuff below, or if you know us, they're going to be popping up regardless on future episodes. But that being said, I think that's what really got me the most excited about this. Was I've wanted to play Elden Ring for so long, Phil, but I'm afraid to play that game. So this was a matter of me wanting to jump in the pool, and instead of jumping, I just dipped my toe in a little bit. And that's essentially the analogy I'm going to use here. I just dipped my toe into the Souls-like universe via another Crab's Treasure.
Dipped your toe into the ocean, one might say. But yeah, you are right. Like you said, as we were kind of preparing for this episode, this, as in terms of accessibility, is the most accessible Souls-like game, so it is very good for people that are kind of interested in the genre. You know me, I have trouble with God of War Ragnarok, with a lot of those optional bosses, where it does require a lot of patience and just learning the rhythms, or not the rhythms, but the the patterns that are going in. We had that issue. I had that issue with Sifu. Remember, you got way farther and you beat Sifu where I did not. We had that kind of issue. And then when it comes to platforming, the first time I had to platform, I was like, oh my God. I felt I was going into it confident. I was like, all right, I felt good. I beat that first boss. It took me 45 minutes, but I finally beat the first boss.
And for the record, I asked you multiple times. I said, Phil, I literally proposed it to you and said, Phil, I know you're going to say no, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And you were like, yeah, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then I asked you again.
I did not say it sounds like a lot of fun. I definitely didn't say that.
That sounds great. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Whatever. And then you continued every time I'd ask. I'm like, we can not do this. And you were like, no, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And I just felt in my heart of hearts.
I'm going to put screenshots of receipts up here and see what I actually said when in the video editing.
Do it. You definitely said something like that. But then I will say I was worried because I didn't realize this until I was cropping up clips. But in our What Did I Miss episode, you mentioned specifically how you played 2 minutes of Stellar Blade and then uninstalled the demo.
Oh yeah, that's right, the demo. Yeah.
And that was, I had already announced the games and you had already said 3 times, yeah, we'll play it. So it was at that moment I knew I fucked up. That's what I knew.
Yeah, I did actually feel a little better because I did have to go to YouTube for this first boss, and just all the comments were, I can't get past this boss. I can't. Why is this the first boss? And I did beat that boss without cheating, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. We're talking about accessibility options. So I am interested. I think towards the end of this episode, I want to ask if you, having gotten further in this than I have, if you are interested now in taking a deeper dive into Souls, you've already started going out of your comfort zone a little bit with what's the game you guys are playing? Not Elden Ring, the other one. The dice roll. Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Fence.
Stop doing this. Stop.
He's doing the dice roll too much.
Too much.
It's really all he's got.
Dude, I think he's doing the dice thing too much. That's really all he's got.
Down to the floor, now let me see.
I'll definitely got to put that clip in from 40-year-old version.
You're going to have to provide context here, yes.
Yeah. So, Yeah, it is. For people that are looking to jump into this genre, I think this is a good start because prior to this, I think the most accessible Souls-like game, as far as what people were telling us, is Elden Ring, and that is still incredibly difficult. But I think the appeal of like the Elden Ring games and some of the other Souls genre games is you can experience them with a friend. I'm not again. We're not 100% sure. We're not the people to go to for this type of genre, but there is a. I do understand to a degree that there is a sense of accomplishment in beating and accomplishing certain things and doing certain things in games like this. That do make you feel good because of the difficulty. I myself I'm like, why would I want to open myself up to that kind of frustration? So what did you run into frustration early and often, or were you, I mean, you're obviously, like I said, you're better at learning these patterns and these routines and this stuff than I am. So like, what was your early experience when you jumped in?
One of the things I had to also learn and struggle with is patience. And I have more patience than you do, but there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different things that you can try to do. Sometimes, like, especially seeing Souls-like gameplay, it, like, feels unnatural. The dodging and the attacks and the dodging and the attacks, rinse, wash, repeat. Like, it does feel a little weird to see it happen and for it to actually happen in your hands with a controller. But I don't know that I struggled per se. Though, you struggled with the first boss. I'm assuming you're talking about when you first get the shell.
Right.
I'm assuming that's who you're talking about. I didn't struggle with that boss, but that queen whipped my ass. I think she's really the first real boss that you fight, in my opinion. Kicked my ass, and it was definitely frustrating. I had to step away and like put it down for a little bit and come back. That really opened my eyes to what, the Souls-like experience is probably going to be. Like, I really feel like you need to put in a lot of time. So, as a genre, I'm going to definitely have to be selective. This is never going to be a genre that I'm just like, every Souls-like game I need to buy, I need to play. If you do that, you're crazy. Congratulations. But I'm going to have to be very selective. So, it works well for me that possibly the next transition for me would be, let me just do Elden Ring. And again, I think that's something that could potentially happen, but I'd have to be careful of when and how I go about that.
The thing that also really softens this experience is it is available on Game Pass, which, Eric, I believe they say something about Game Pass. I can't 100% remember what it is, but if you could refresh it.
I believe the saying is the best deal in gaming. I'm pretty sure.
I have heard that. I have heard that. So it is available on Game Pass. It is $30 on Steam. So, and of course, you want to support these smaller developers because you do want games like this. You do want to, we've talked about it all year. We're moving away from AAA gaming, and because other developers are giving us the experiences that we want. I didn't want this, but somebody out there wanted this experience. But it is great that it is on a service such as Game Pass because it, maybe somebody will be like, oh, what else has Aggro Crab developed? What else have they jumped into? And the other game that they put out is nothing like this, but it did actually kind of it made a lot of sense because it also has a lot of commentary on a lot of social commentary, which obviously like this has. It's not subtle. It is in your face about consumerism and capitalism and all that stuff. That's pretty rampant throughout. I will say the game's pretty funny. It's got a lot of really great puns. It's got a lot of cute characters. I wasn't the biggest fan of the aesthetic, but I mean, come on, it's a little hermit crab, and you're beating the shit out of crabs and fish and all that kind of stuff. So like, I think as far as a backdrop to talk about some of the more serious stuff, and you can mask it under a cartoon aesthetic, I think it's pretty good. And again, it has a lot of moments from what I saw. I probably played maybe 4 or 5 hours of this. What I saw, again, it was enjoyable in terms of the context and the dialogue.
Oh, for sure. It was definitely a lot of fun. The backdrop, Phil, like the ocean and everything, like the environment, really rich. Like, I think it looks really nice texturally as well. It's nothing to write home about, but it's just nice, very, very nice to look at. And when we're talking about the characters, like I would have a laugh or two, and then with two characters or one character I'd run into, and then another character, we're having a deep conversation about not being in a relationship too long or an abusive relationship, basically. Like, you shouldn't be in a relationship that's hurting you.
I like how when you first meet the person that shows you how to use your magic powers, they kept like almost like yelling at you, but then they would like rein it back in. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So again, like those type of conversations like are really funny. One of the characters I ran into in a town was like a sea urchin, and he was literally telling you like, don't come near me, I'm gonna poke you. And as the crab, you just wanted to give him a hug.
He wanted a hug.
But after the first hit, the prompts go away. Well, you go again and new prompts come up. He's like, dude, I'm not kidding. Like, stop doing this. You can't fix me. It's like a deep funny thing that happened within the context of the game that like just naturally happened. And I feel like that like funness of it made me want to explore, talk to characters. Like, that's not something that I'm usually interested in doing with like NPCs for the most part when I'm in a game like this. And I found myself wanting to look around to find items, to find new shells, which, Phil, the shell aesthetic of all of this is definitely something that I would say I had more difficulty dealing with than the actual combat itself. Like learning what each shell's ability is, when and where to do it. And then God forbid you get into a fight where there aren't shells around. I don't know how you're supposed to proceed into the game without them. I think it was a good, definitely aesthetic to have, but like combat wise, it's really important. And I feel like that's something I'm still kind of figuring out through my gameplay time. For context, Phil, I don't know what your end time was. I'm at about 8 to 9 hours for this game. So I think right about the halfway point, if you don't really go around doing extra stuff, I did. So that should tell you where I am probably story-wise.
Yeah, I didn't get too far after the entire town has decided they're going to go after this treasure. So that's pretty much where I had left it off. And yeah, I think that's one thing that's pretty neat is, and this isn't unique to Souls-like games, but like when you get new armor, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see how it looks on my character. And here, it's just really, obviously, it's like, duh, of course it would be a shell, but like, yeah, it's a soda can or a like an eraser top, or later in the game it's a shotgun shell. Like that's really cool. It's really smart. I don't know why he just didn't get another shell. Just this ocean should be littered with shells. I don't know why he wants this shell.
Same.
It's beat up to shit, and I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, Eric, but it pissed me off because I did watch a YouTube video on how this thing ends, but it made me pretty mad. But no, but the aesthetic, like a bottle cap, that is really, really cool. My favorite shell, because I started speedrunning this thing, and we'll bring it back to accessibility, is the gun. And if you don't know what I'm talking about,
surprise, Phil.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, because this game can get difficult, you can adjust the difficulty settings, which I don't know if is unique to a Souls-like game, but
it's
Eric
not
did
common.
let me know. Okay, yeah, because I didn't know. I didn't look into accessibility or anything like that, so Eric did let me know that you could adjust it, and then did tell me that you can have the gun shell, which I don't know if you ever figure out how to attach it and try it out, but game changer.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a run of the game with the gun as the shell, because it's essentially a one-shot hit, a one-shot kill. Phil, the reason I told you those accessibility for our audience as well is because less than an hour into the game, Phil texts me and says, "This is not for me." He didn't even get to the first boss.
Couldn't get past that fucker.
And then I got messages like, "Why is RB the attack button?" Which
Stupid.
Definitely a
stupid
valid criticism. But yeah, Phil, I don't blame you, because the thing with Souls-like is that there's normally not really a difficulty. It's just the game. That's what it is. So like when you go in understanding you're playing a Souls-like game, I think people are automatically programmed to think that there's not those options for this one. And going back to my earlier point of, I think it's a good entry point into Souls games. Again, very naive for me to say that because I have no idea whether that's true or not. But in my simple-minded opinion, it seems like it would be because of that little feature alone. You can make it a little bit easier, a lot easier, or you could just put a gun and just say, I just want to speed run this thing, which again, I'm glad you at least got some enjoyment out of that part.
Yeah, one shot kills, baby. It's it's jarring when you first use it too, because it just blasts enemies away, bosses included. So, in case you're wondering, I think maybe I had to put 2 into the queen, but it didn't take much.
Yeah,
so
some of the bosses have some exceptions, but I mean they do like heavy damage, so it is a game changer. Phil, I was curious as well if this also stood out as a positive for you, but one of the funny things that's kind of trending around this game is the OST and the music for this. I don't know if you felt it, but like anytime you would run into a boss, those things were slapping, dude. Those background songs that were playing felt like really, really good. I don't know how many bosses you ended up getting to, but there's one in particular that is just a straight banger, and it's going to be on the playlist. So I just wanted to prepare you when you see it.
So I got so irritated about hearing the first one over and over again. I think I tuned it out because I heard it for 45 minutes, and that bitch come out of there and be like, reach for this, guys, or whatever he said. The first one. And I shot the queen pretty quickly, so I didn't hear any music. So, no, I don't know what you're referring to.
Jesus Christ. I cannot stand you. But again, I think this is a good representation of us, trying something new. And it working for one of us, not working for the other. The other thing I'll say, Phil, is that I am also playing this game with my son. So we are having a pretty good time, and I know that you are not going to touch this game again. I think that's pretty fair to say. But I will probably try to finish it over time. I definitely won't be playing it as much just because I have other things that I want to fit in there, and I really kind of tried to crank some hours into this game for this episode. But yeah, because my son's involved and he's invested, I think that's an easy way for me to continue on. So I'll definitely maybe have more thoughts as we continue forward. But for now, for what I have experienced, I think I would say give it a shot. I think it's a game worth at least trying. And like you mentioned, even if it's only $30, which I don't think is that bad of a price point for this, that's a fair deal. Try it, support a smaller game, and maybe have some fun out of it, especially if you like Souls. Like, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. But if you do have an Xbox and you can get this on Game Pass and you're not playing anything else, why not? And that's ultimately probably my biggest selling point if you are a console player.
Yeah, if you're interested in jumping into this genre, and like we talked about the accessibility options and it being a little bit more open to new players, then this is it. Don't spend the $70 on Elden Ring unless you really want to do that. I know a lot of people are doing that after the Kai Cenat thing, but yeah, $30 for the standard version on Steam, and I think $35 for the deluxe edition. So you're really not talking about a whole lot of money. And I believe it's on all consoles. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out. In terms of reviews, all reviews on Steam overwhelmingly positive for this game. And I believe it has a 78 Metascore, 7.6 user score on Metacritic. So, yeah, being received very, very well. And I think it's a good sign for this developer. So, we'll see what comes from them next. Eric, I've just kind of, for some reason, have been... in terms of my gaming lately, have been opening myself up to different forms of just punishment, because we're getting the shit kicked out of us in XDefy, and we pretty much abandoned that. This obviously kicked my ass, and I've been playing the Valorant beta, and that thing is no joke. We played a little bit last night. I've been playing by myself for a few days, but I played last night with Jordan and my sister, and we did win one game, but the rest of them were rough. So we're talking about Riot Games, and now we're jumping into the League of Legends, and Valorant type of player. 2024 has been weird, man. So that's what we have been up against. I'm very excited to just sail the 7 seas and play college football for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that should give you a little bit of an idea of what upcoming episodes will be like. So
wasn't it like Actually, I think it was a couple days ago. We were playing. We were playing X Defiant with Jordan. We were getting the shit kicked out of us. We switched to Fortnite and we won a game, and we were like, "Yay, we're good at video games!"
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. We will end this series talking about Fortnite. When the podcast is over or this particular series ends,
Still going, man.
we will talk about Fortnite because there is still no better feeling than getting that Battle Royale dub, dude. Oh my God. No better feeling. It will definitely reinvigorate your confidence in being a gamer, which is not a good thing. I'm pretty sure that's a comparison could be made to hard drugs. I'm pretty sure.
We cannot quit you, Fortnite.
No.
And they're about to release these Pirates of the Caribbean skins. Boy, it is over.
Just wait. But yeah, I think, guys, this is there's not going to be too much that we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're not getting into spoiler territory as far as the story and then also the gameplay. I think this is just us, again, trying something a little new, getting to have a little bit of a talk about our experience. And yeah, ultimately, I think this is probably our first kind of hit or miss in a while when it comes to some of the games. But this is another game, Phil, as we talked about, another game this year coming out. People are talking about, or at least it's popular throughout this year. And I think that we keep trying new games that are coming out. I think that's always a good thing. So what else is 2024? What else does it have in store for us? I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, and early on in the year is a good time to do that. You know, like we're going to be covering college football 25 in the next month or so. And then obviously, because again, best deal in gaming, we're getting Modern or Black Ops 6 or whatever for free on Game Pass. You know, we'll dive into the more traditional games in the later part of the year. So just having a lot of fun, just trying out new stuff. Obviously, with having, you know, a gaming PC that has opened me up to new experiences when it comes to like modding and stuff. Oh man, I wonder if there's mods available for this. I mean, you can already get a gun, so I don't know how much else I would really want for another Crab's Treasure. But yeah, you know, like you said, early on in the year, it's been fun to jump into new stuff because there is just so much to talk about. But Eric, I think that is a good stopping point. Again, let me have it. I know, get good crowd. That's fine. I'm not going to play this again, but very happy that a smaller developer is seeing a lot of great feedback, and yeah, excited to see what they do next. If you want to see what we're up to next, you can click the Linktree link in the show notes of this episode, find all the rest of our content, including all episodes of The Game Room Where It Happens. Follow us on social media, the most important ones being Instagram, TikTok, our Discord page, as well as Twitch, where we stream typically every Thursday night with my playoff run in the NBA Finals. It's been a little bit up in the air. We'll see if that comes to an end here tonight as we record here on Monday night, June 17th. I may be a broken man by the time Bold Matsuri comes around, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of Bold Matsuri, again, June 22nd, 23rd, this weekend, Prime Osborne Convention Center, Jacksonville, Florida, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture and anime convention. Eric and I will be there all weekend hosting all of the Q&A panels, and we can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see old friends, meet new friends, and everything in between. You can also support the show by heading on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us those 5-star reviews. It helps tremendously with getting eyes and ears on the podcast. But if you want some extra perks and some behind-the-scenes videos and craziness about how all this is done, Eric will let you know how you can do that.
So we have a lot of free options, obviously. Your Discord, your regular social media, all of that. But if you want to go beyond and go a little bit extra to support the show, you can do that financially through our Buzzsprout page, or you could take that money and move it over to Patreon, where in exchange for those funds, supporters like Briar and Stefan are getting on that platform behind-the-scenes looks and early access to episodes like this one. So we truly want to grow that platform. We'd love to see some more support there, but the comments, the likes, the shares, the listens, the engagement, all of that is truly appreciated as always. And we'd love for you to keep that up at the very least. With that being said, my name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino. And please don't forget, we release new episodes every Wednesday on the podcast with bonus content on platforms like TikTok and Twitch. And all you got to do is wait for it.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment. Wait for it. Gaming? Wait for it. Anime? Plus Ultra! Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.